back to the She Shed. Today's tutorial is going to be on this beanie. So I call this my bubble beanie because it's got 3 rows of bubbles on it. Super simple. What we will need is the yarn, which we are using Cuddles. This is 100% polymer, or polyester I should say, sorry. This is a 200-meter ball of yarn, and it says here for a 5mm crochet hook, but I'm actually going to use a 5.5. I found that worked really well for this. It is very soft, baby soft. I got this from Lincraft. You might have seen me do the unboxing for this. So this is one of the wools out of that, and it is made in China. Alrighty, and the hook I will be using is this 5mm hook. Let's get started. So we start with a slip knot, and we are going to chain 12 plus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 plus 1. And what we are doing is the rib stitch, and this is the ribbing that you will see around the base of the beanie. And how we do the rib stitch is we work into the V of every stitch. So you can see that every stitch has the V there, and we're just going straight into the middle of that stitch and working our single crochet in every stitch. So miss the first stitch, go to the next one in your chain, put your hook in, grab your yarn, pull it through, grab your yarn, pull through the 2 on the hook, hook into the chain, next one, grab your yarn, pull it through, grab your yarn and pull through the 2 on the chain, on the hook, into the next chain, grab your yarn, pull it through, grab your yarn, pull through the 2 on the hook, sorry. Okay, so at the end of the row, you're going to chain 1, turn, and repeat the process. So see the V there, into the V, grab your yarn, pull it through, grab your yarn, pull through the 2 on the hook. Now as you're working along, just make sure that you are still having 12 stitches because you can easily lose yourself, particularly at the ends. So just periodically count that you've still got 12 stitches. Okay, again, chain 1, go into the first stitch and continue on. Now we need to do this 61 times, so I'm going to leave you to do this for 61 rows, and I will meet you back here when you are finished. Once you have your 60 rows of your rib, we now need to join it together. Now make sure that your row that you finished off on, the end is opposite to the tail where you started. And what we now need to do is join them together. So have your finishing off, your last row up the top here in your right hand, and then your tail where you started off at the bottom on the left hand side. And make sure it's straight and bring them together. You're going to slip stitch in the along the top here, and it'll join and look seamless. So you get the your hook into the first stitch of the first row, grab a yarn, bring through the 2 loops on your hook, then the next stitch go into that V and then go into the top of the stitch on the other side, grab a yarn and pull through all the loops on your hook, and go to the next stitch through the V, next stitch on the other side, grab your yarn, pull it through, and then you just keep working along like that, marrying up your stitches to either side and grabbing your yarn and pulling through. Now you have joined the seam up, you can see how neat and tidy that looks. And what we need to do now is turn it inside out. And that seam will get hidden away even more in the fold there, but it's still incredibly neat and tidy. For this round, we are going to be putting a stitch along every one of these rows. So you go into the top of the row, and it's really easy where to place your stitches, because you go either on the hill or the valley, the hill or the valley, the hill or the valley, the hill, valley, all the way around. And because we did 60 rows, it should be 60 stitches. And we're doing half double crochet. So yarn over, and you go into the first, which is the valley, grab your yarn, pull it through, grab your yarn, pull through all 3 on the hook. And we're going to be working in this tail, so we don't have to sew it in later. And then yarn over into the hill there, grab your yarn, pull it through, grab your yarn, pull through the 3 on the hook. Now do try to get as close to the top as you can, and it will leave a nice neat edge. So work around in every one of your hills and valleys, and just double check that you've placed them in the right spot, and I will meet you back at the end of this round. Alright, at the end of the round, make sure you've got your 60 stitches before you join together, and then when you've confirmed that, just slip stitch into the first stitch of the round, chain 1, and then turn your work. Okay, so for that, now we're on to our bubble stitch, and we always do our bubble stitch on the inside out of the beanie, so that your bubbles pop out on the front side. And this is one of my favorite stitches, I must admit. So what you need to do is, it's a series of double crochets into the same stitch. So what we're going to do is go yarn over, go into the first stitch, grab your yarn, pull it through, grab your yarn, pull through the first 2 on your hook, grab your yarn, go back into the same stitch, grab your yarn, pull it through, grab your yarn through the first 2 on your hook, and then grab your yarn, go through the stitch again, grab your yarn, pull it through, grab your yarn, pull through the first 2 on your hook, and then grab your yarn and pull through the 4 that are now remaining on your hook. Then what we need to do is, in the next stitch, we do a single crochet. The next stitch is our bubble stitch, which once again, yarn over into the stitch, grab your yarn, pull it through, grab your yarn, pull through the first 2 on your hook. Grab your yarn, go into the same stitch, grab your yarn, pull it through, grab your yarn, pull through the first 2 on your hook, and then grab your yarn, go into the same stitch for the 3rd time, pull your yarn through, grab your yarn, pull through the first 2, and then grab your yarn, pull through the remaining 4 on your hook. Then we slip stitch. Then it's a bubble stitch. And now it's a slip stitch. So as you can see, it's a bubble stitch followed by a slip stitch. And there's the effect. So doing the slip stitch, see little bubbles, gives that push up for the bubbles. Okay, let's do another one together, and then I'm going to leave you to finish this round on your own. Okay, there we go. So continue on your round doing your bubble stitch followed by your single crochet, and I will meet you back here at the end of this round. The last stitch of that round should be a single crochet, and then go and slip stitch the round together, chain 1, and then turn your work. Now for this row we are going to do a half double crochet into every stitch. So yarn over, and you'll see the first stitch there should marry up with your single crochet that you did in the previous round. Bring your yarn through, yarn over through the 3 on your hook, yarn over, and then for a bubble it should be just above, and you'll see there. Grab your yarn, pull it through, grab your yarn, pull through the 3 on the hook. And then the slip stitch will be right next, sorry, the single crochet stitch that you did in the middle there, you're going right above that, bubble stitch, right above that. You'll see the slip stitch there, right above that, and so on and so forth. So continue on this round. So this is round number 2, and I will meet you at the end of the round. At the end of the round, just double check you've got your 60 stitches still, keep on top of that, and then once you finish you're going to join your round together by a slip stitch in the first stitch of the round. Chain 1, turn your work, we're going to do another row of bubble. So yarn over, go into your first stitch, yarn, and continue with your bubble stitch. Now after I do the first bubble stitch, I just check that I'm actually above the right one, and no, I'm not, so I'm going to undo that and just jump over a stitch, and that is absolutely okay. You want to make sure your bubbles are lined up. Okay, and then I'm just going to do a single crochet in the next stitch and just see, there we go, that's much better. And there we go, my bubbles are lined up now. So I am going to continue this round, and I will meet you back here at the end of the round. Just before I leave you there, just double check that your bubbles are lining up periodically. So turn your work back to yourself and then go, yep, my bubbles are lining up, cool, and continue on. Alright, I'll meet you back at the end of the round. At the end of the row, remember you should be finishing on a single crochet and then slip stitch into the first stitch. Chain 1, turn your work, and then we are going to be doing a half double crochet into every stitch. So continue this round and I will meet you back at the end of this round. At the end of that round, once again check that you have 60 stitches, and then we're going to slip stitch in the top of the first stitch. Chain 1, turn your work, and this is now going to be the last row of bubble stitch that we are going to do. So yarn over into the stitch, do your bubble stitch as normal, slip single crochet in the next stitch, and then just turn around once again, checking that you've got your bubbles lined up, and you do, and then continue on with your bubble stitch. And your single crochet and your bubble stitch. Okay, continue on and I will meet you back here at the end of the round. At the end of the round, remember you're finishing with a single crochet and then slip stitch into the first stitch of the round. Chain 1 and then turn. Now from now onwards we will be doing half double crochets for every single round, and we're not going to step up anymore into the round. We are just going to continuously work around and around. We're going to do around about 14 rows, but do measure it to your own head to what works best for you and your head. And I would suggest that you mark this first row here with a stitch marker, just so you know where you started your rounds, and this way it'll make counting how many rows you've done easier. And also where to finish off, because it's best to finish off where that line is. You can see that there is a seam there. It's not overly visible, but you do still want that at the back. Okay, so you just need to do a half double crochet in every single stitch from now onwards. I am going to continue this off camera, however I am going to come back at the end of this round just to show you how to continue on in a continuous round and not having to step up. So I will see you back at the end of the round in a moment. So at the end of the round, all you need to do is just continue into the next stitch, which is basically the first stitch of the round, of the previous round, and just keep going and keep going and keep going, and just eventually you won't even notice, you'll just go straight over. Okay, so continue doing this 14 rounds, or as many rounds that will fit comfortably over your head. If you do want to make it a slouch beanie, do a lot more rounds. This one I've made as a tight beanie to just fit snugly over your head. Okay, so I will meet you at the end of my 14 rounds and show you how we finish off the top. At the end of your 14 rows, leave enough yarn so you can sew up the top. So I pretty much just go a little over halfway around, and then slip stitch into the next stitch, pull your yarn through and sew on your yarn needle. Sorry, put on your yarn needle, turn your beanie inside out because we want to sew this up on the inside, and weave into the top of the stitches there, in and out. You don't have to go into every single stitch. when you come back to the beginning, pull that hole close, but be gentle about your pulling. As I said, you don't want to break your yarn. And then when you've got the hole as closed as you can possibly get it, then sew up the hole, and how you sew it up is purely up to you. And when you feel your hole is nicely sewn up, just tie it off, cut off the excess yarn, and as we have worked in all our ends as we went, turn your beanie back the right way, take out stitch markers if you used any, and there we are, the finished product. Well, I hope you have enjoyed making your beanie, and if you have made your beanie, I'd love to see a photo of it, so you can share it with me on Facebook at Lucky Platypus. You can go to Instagram at lucky_platypus1. You can even email me through my website www.luckyplatypus.com.au. I'd love to see what you've done. Otherwise, have a fantastic day everybody, and hopefully I'll see you again here at the She Shed for the next tutorial. Bye everyone!